going to start it here. Okay, so as I begin receiving the information, what I'm going to do is share my screen. And every session, they give me information of what I'm meant to do, how I'm supposed to set this up, because the setup will be really important for you because you will understand something about you. It will feel as if this is like my stuff, but it's not. You're going to hear where you are going to know what is happening for you and why you happen to be in the room today. So that's what we're going to do. Now, I'm going to share this message because it is a continuation of what came through today. So when I start the session, we'll explain why this particular message is on the screen that you are each to see. We are so happy that each of you are here. And as we say to you, each time we meet you, we have waited for you all of your lives. Now, we say that each time because every time you show up here, you are in a different place. And to prove that to you, we've set these meetings up precisely to show you that you move through your lives in very orderly ways. Your life. We're not talking about Roger. We're talking about your life. Your life has been set up to have different points that you come to recognize and own and understand why you decided to have this life and why you decided to have it at this period. Now, we're going to go back a little bit because we've told you all of this. In the very beginning, when we started, we gave you information that you're seeing now that has happened in your world. It has manifested in your world. And it is not that we were predicting anything. All we were doing was allowing you to see the manifestations of your actions, and your actions are always your thoughts. We gave you a message yesterday, said we have a secret to tell you, and this is the day that we're revealing and giving you the secret. Now, this morning, we had Roger go back to our messages, and any of you could do this because you will love what you will find. We said, go to the messages and search for the word power. But this is something that many of you have not understood. You've not understood it in your lives and in the world, which is why the world looks the way that it does today. But you came here to make a difference. Each of you, in your own way, are here to make the difference, and you chose this time to do it. It does not matter what age you are, what's happened in your life before, but right now, you chose this moment in time to awaken to a whole new element, a new portion of who you are. When we had Roger search for this, we took him back to this message. This was the first one that he could find, and it was 2009. We're going to tie that in with the message we gave you several days ago when we said you were born again in 2009. See, because you've each had these periods in your life where you've been shown your direction, but you may not have decided to move there. You may not have thought that you had the power to accomplish that. You may have believed that someone else was in control of you, and that was never true. It was always you. In 2009, Roger went through a big, what felt to him to be a big disaster, which many of you might be feeling now, that you're losing things or people are dying or you're losing your businesses or whatever. No, you are just being guided. You're being guided to another aspect of who you are. You are eternal beings, and so you're always doing that. You are spiritual, eternal beings, always here. And each time you're just performing, you're just acting out different roles. And the role that you each take is integral to the evolution of your world, each of you. Now, you may not have thought that you were that important, but you are. And if you look at our message this morning, you will see where we said that. Each of you holds within you the power to completely change the world. But you're never willing to admit that. It seems a little silly when you say, oh, I have the power to change the world. Well, who holds it? You do. You each do. You have the ability. There's no one who was born with more ability than what you have. And you each have been placed in very specific places in the world, in your life, to make a difference, and you did that to do it now. You had a journey that you were on that you meant to end up right here so that you could say, oh, wait a minute, now I'm remembering what I chose to do. And you did, you chose this. You chose to be here right now because you knew that if you were able to muster the ability to believe in yourself, you would cause change in the world. But then you also knew that if you came together, if more of you did it, it would make a big difference. And the reason we're saying that is because we need you to do that now. We have made Roger feel this urgency, as we said before, to bring all of you together because your collective energy is what changes everything. Because you have the collective energy of love, and you know that. You each do. You've seen that in your lives. And you will not see that everywhere in everyone because not everyone has chosen the role that you did this time. What we mean is that you have been here, you've had many lives, and each time you choose a different role. But the role that you choose, no matter which it is, it still helps your world to evolve. Because the only thing that ever survives is the light. The only thing that ever survives is the love. We want Roger to find the messages that we have given you, the conversations that we've had. We're going to publish those again because it will make more sense to you when you hear the things that we gave you months ago. We began in June. And when you hear that those things were not predictions, they were just the logical result of the things that you have been doing, the things that you individually have done. And then, of course, that is your collective world. And so when you look at your world now and decide that it looks just really horrible and terrible, well, you wanted that. You did. You wanted that because now it's motivating you to own who you are. It's motivating you to remember what you came here to do. We have set this up in such a way that it could not have been missed on you. We told you about the 2009. Again, the reason that we did that is because you've each had moments where you've not owned yourself. And you have this collective thing that you have. We did that because we knew some of you would also remember, and we received that result. There were several people who said, oh, wow, in 2009, yes, that happened for me. We also told you that you would start to notice more of those things. We said you would have synchronicities, which you think are coincidences sometimes, and they're not that, but you would have them show up, and you would have them show up in such rapid succession that it would be difficult for you not to notice what was occurring. Everything that we do, and we've told you from the beginning, everything that we're giving you is just to take away your fear and doubt and own who you are. Because you are the people who decided you were going to do that. And you know that. You each have felt that somewhere. And you also know that there are other people on the planet who are not doing that. You absolutely are aware of that. You have to see that because that's the only way that the world evolves. You need conflicting, you need contrast, you need all of that to then come together to fashion a new world. We told you some time ago, you remember this in one of the messages, we said the world that you desire to see is not guaranteed because you're creating it right now. You are in the process of creating that future world, which again is why we wanted you to go back and see all of the messages that we have given that where you could see the manifestations of those things in your world. They show up. And we'll tell you this, we told Roger in the beginning, because you each are here doing different things on different timelines. We want you to understand your timelines because you make judgments about yourselves if you believe that you are supposed to fit some formula and you haven't done it yet or you haven't gotten there. No, you were meant to do it now. That's what's happening. And you're hearing that and you're feeling that because you know that it's true. And now we're going to give you more because sometimes you don't have the gumption or the impetus or the feeling or the strength or the courage to think that you have the power to do anything, which is why we brought up power. And we explained it in the message this morning. You have misunderstood what power is. We've used it so much. And Roger didn't even know why he came up with empowerment. He had no idea. Most of you don't have any idea why you create certain things, which is kind of the point. It's fun that way. Because then you discover and go, wow, I have that. I didn't know. We gave him the word empowerment decades ago. And in the beginning, when he first started using it, his partner said, well, we don't think people will understand what that means. Well, now you do. So we broke it down, and we want you to understand, because you each have this ability. This is why we said that you are this powerful. And the thing we're giving you now is what Jesus understood. It's what Buddha understood, what Hitler understood. All of them. You see, it doesn't matter. It's the power of your mind. It's the power of your thoughts. You create your world through energy. You create your lives through energy. That's all that there is. And we took Roger back decades ago to study your scientists, because you start learning then, you start seeing they study this. And then by the end, so many times by the end, toward the end of their lives, they start to come to this awareness and say, oh, wait a minute. We've broken down everything. We've studied everything that exists, and we're trying to figure out what is causing creation. And then we discovered all it is energy. And then when you say, oh, wait a minute, how do we move energy? How can we control energy? Do we have the ability to do that? You do, which is why we showed you what happened. Your thoughts. Your thoughts create and direct energy. Your thoughts are directing the energy, and that is causing creation. And that is what you're seeing now in your world. But in the timeline that each of you chose, each of you, this is why we gave you the message the other day, and please go back. If you have not read it, please read it, because it's for each of you. The secret, we gave you that secret. You have it. You plan to come, to move through certain things, to have experiences, to meet certain people, to do all of these things so that you could continually uncover your power. See, because you're always doing it. As long as your existence is forever. So you're always uncovering your power. But then it sometimes surprises you, as we said in the message, when you find it, because you had denied it for so long. That's why. However, once you realize, and why we've made this urgent again, is because you need to come together within yourself so you can form this coalition of love and power and light. Because there is something else that's been brewing that's just as powerful. And you're going to come together. We told you you would choose. Several sessions ago, we said that you would come to this place where you would choose. And what you are choosing is the direction and the life that you chose this time. And each of you knows on very deep levels who you are and what you came to do, and you've seen it. This is why you get so upset when you see things that are not going in the way in the world that you would like them to. This is why you get so upset. It's not to cause you to become angry. We said this before too. What you are meant to do now is observe all of it so that it can awaken you to who you are, because you do know that. You've always known it. You've known it since you were a child. You came in with that. Let's explain. We told you, we set this up again, like we told you. We gave you a message about remembering. We gave you a message about forgetting. And now you're remembering again. That's how you live your life cycle. When you come in as a child, you remember a lot. This is why when you see little children, they may react to you in completely different ways than you have known, because they're seeing something about you. They're seeing the spirit, because they're still in that place. They haven't been gone from that other side, so to speak, very long. So they start to see this. They recognize it. And then you see them start to change. Because then they start learning the ways of your world. And then they start beginning to learn limitations and restrictions. And you teach them that. You teach them limitations and restrictions. And they start to learn that, and then they start to live that. And then your world starts to reflect that. Except there's certain times where you choose lives, and you did it this time. You chose this lifetime because you knew this was going to be a big one. This is your most important lifetime for you to embody who you are and start to affect change in your world. And you have the ability to do it. You absolutely have the ability to do it. We gave Roger something years ago. And again, we advise you to go to our work writings and search these things, because you will see what we're saying to you. We gave him focused attention. You each have this ability. You have focused attention. There's your power, you see? Because if you were to take your attention, and this is what you all call mindfulness, but if you were to take your attention and focus it in a way towards the things that you want, toward the world that you want to see, toward what you want to become, it would start to manifest. And when you don't do that, you have the world that you see today. That's what happens. However, you do have this opportunity right now to cause a huge shift. It's not going to manifest tomorrow, but you'll start to see the remnants of it coming about if you start to take action. If you start to do something now, you will see this start to show up in your world. I mean, we could go back and give you all the points of what you're seeing now. Again, we plan these things because we know how the world's going to look when we get here. It's not rocket science to see this. And so the division that's there, you've been brewing it for so long. You've been bringing it about. And we've said that this time you came to be loved. We said that in the last message, that you wouldn't be here, you wouldn't be listening to us unless that element was a part of you. But it's also been challenging. It's also been very difficult because you have not seen exactly what you feel exhibited in many ways in your world. But yes, you have. You just ignored them. You just didn't pay attention to them. In the message that we gave you the other day, we said that you have watched so many people speak. You've had religious leaders, you've had thought leaders, you've read books, you do studies, you do all of that. And all it's supposed to do is to help you remember what you knew. You have access to infinite intelligence because it exists for everyone. Where you are now, is it a place where you decided that you wanted to start allowing more to know who they are? You wanted more people to come together in a way that would cause a healing in your world so that you would continue to evolve. However, not everyone is making that choice, but you are, because you know you're supposed to. You know you came here to do that. You might not have felt that powerful before, but the energy behind you is really immense at this time for you to harness it and to use it to create your life in the manner that you want. You each have such rich potentials within you. You each do, and you know it, you felt it, and you wanted to believe it. It was hard sometimes, but it is true. And we're doing everything in our power to show you that you have a plan that is unfolding, and it's unfolding at the right time, and it's unfolding at the time where it was meant to help your world. That's why you are here. There is no one in the planet now more important than you. And we just want you to own that, because when you start to shine, people around you will do the same thing. It's going to change. It's going to be different. And this is why we talked about your planet. If you remember, on the very first ones, we said to you, please stop burning down your planet. Some people started to pay attention. There is movement, but that movement needs to be greater, because you see, you've had a huge momentum going in the opposite direction. And so to get you to pay attention to that, we thought, oh, well, let's give them everything all at once. Let's have fires, let's have floods, let's have tornadoes or hurricanes, let's have all of it all at once. That's what happened. And that can bring up fear. But the fear is purposeful. See, because the fear causes you to move. It causes you to do something. Not always still terrible, because you will each use different motivating factors to get you to understand who you are and why you're here. But sometimes fear can be helpful if you understand why you're using it. If you understand that it's only causing you to open up to who you are. Because we said to you also, and another message, you can go back and find these because we gave it to you specifically so you would understand it today. We said the best part of you would never harm another. And you know that. When you tune into that higher wisdom, that higher part of you, it's the most loving place that you could ever want to be. You're the only ones who would ever judge yourselves. And it holds you back. But it's also a part of evolving. You go through it in stages. So we laid this out. We have used Roger, we've used his entire life, as we've told you. We told him the first part of his life, and we want you to understand this because some of you think that your lives have been challenging or difficult and for no meaning, and that's never true. It's never true. The first part of Roger's life, or the grander part of Roger's life, was filled with a lot of trauma and drama and illness and all sorts of things that he could not understand. And we told him, it's because you wanted to be here now. That's it. And then when he went back the other day to search our messages, he could not find anything before 2009. There's nothing posted there before 2009 because the first part of his life, what he was doing, and even when he was communicating, began receiving the information from us in 1988. He could not give it to a broad base of you, more of you, because he was still processing through all of his deep, long-held judgment, limitation, and he knew that he was carrying, which you each are, he was carrying ancestral baggage and trauma that he wanted to release and move through. So he understands now that all of those things were helping him to accomplish that so that he could be here now in this part of his evolutionary journey to help others, because you are going to do exactly the same thing. Each one of you, that's what you're doing. There's no one that has a legacy that's more important than yours. And you're meant to leave it, each of you. And the thing that we have said, and if you go through our messages, what we have said over and over again is that there's no hierarchy of souls. You have to understand that. You will make divisions and you will see, okay, this person has more money, this person is more successful in that sense. Okay, well, that's what they chose to do in this physical realm. For them, that's their path. However, it is still their soul that they're working with, just like you. So there's no difference. There's no hierarchy. No one is more valuable than you are. It just doesn't happen, except you will set that up in different ways. You have subjugated one another for centuries, which was why we took you back to the old messages. We took you back to your history to study civilization, because each one you try to control one another. Because you do that because you have not understood how powerful you are. And that's what's happening in your world. The message that we gave you about love, money, power, and control, love, money, power, and control, it's in there. We gave it to you in one of our previous things because that's what is happening now. And you're not paying attention all the time. You do see it sometimes. But then you just did something, and we're going to talk about this. And this is something that's really difficult for Roger, but we're going to talk about it because it's needed. Last night he was at friends, with friends, which he hadn't done in a really long time, but he was with friends and he heard us talking to him. And he said, I hope they don't make me talk about abortion tomorrow. Oh, we are. Because it's something that you need to look at. It's part of your history. And it's not about the act itself. We're not saying that. It's about your control and who has the power. Now, you have gone through centuries and evolutions where you separated your power by the sexes. Now, you've been all sexes. Each of you have been all the sexes, but you sometimes have used certain sexes to subjugate them so that you might feel powerful. You see, that's how you control things. But that changes. Every civilization, it changes. You say, oh, wait a minute, that's not the best way. We have discovered that if we come together as a whole, then we become stronger. So then what happened is, why we bring this up is that we want you each to think about your own reasons for doing certain things, because that's the problem. You don't ask questions of yourself. What is your intention? So we talked about this. So yesterday, the other day, there was a law passed in Texas which would restrict abortion for many women. And a lot of people have very strong opinions about that because it's immoral to kill a baby. It's immoral to do all of this. And we say, oh, so you think you can kill a spirit? You think you can kill a spirit? You can't. And so we just want you each to think about that a little bit, because see, what happens is you don't understand that you're eternal beings. And so that's why you think about these things in that way. But a lot of times you're using them to try to gain your sense of power, which is why we have the writing on the wall. You can have it without having the need to control someone else. But we want you to know that the choices that you make, we want you to think about what is your intention. What is your intention? And now, if you think it's a moral thing that nobody should ever have an abortion, then the other side of that is you're saying you don't have any control to make your own choices. So how could you have any control? You see, how could you have that? There was a thing that we wanted each of you to think about, because we've talked about this before, and we were leading up to today, because the last session we told you that certain times people choose to come into the world to fulfill their mission, and they die very young. Very young. That's what they do, because they're very aware of what they're doing. Now, wait a minute, we're going to say something else to you, because some of you have lost children and you've not understood, this was painful. It was difficult. We understand that. But we want you to know that those children were quite aware of the agreement that they made to come into the world. They were quite aware that they came in to live this part of their journey. See, they have their own souls. It has nothing to do with you. They have their own souls, and they come in to fulfill the purpose. And sometimes they say, we want to come in and we're going to live for a little bit, then we're going to die, because then it will bring up this empathy and compassion from so many people. And then your planet becomes far more loving. See, these are the choices that you need to think about these. We're just asking the questions for you each to think of. What is the intention that you're attempting to manifest? What is the thing that you're attempting to come about when you make your choices? What is that? And you're going through it right now because you're each dealing with the virus that you have, and you're wondering, should you get this? Should you do that? What's your intention? Should you take the vaccine? What's your intention? That's all you have to ever ask yourself. And because then when you understand your intention, then when you understand that you each come together, you're all one. So your intentions are going to affect everyone. It's no separation here. What is happening now as well, and we want to talk about this because you're going to see it show up in your world in the next several months, but you're not going to move through things unless you start to bring in more people into your environment, into your world, into your caring. That's what this is all about. This complete restructuring of your world was meant to have you do that. Now, it doesn't matter what the virus is. You've done this before. You've had many pandemics. You've had, this is a big one, however, because it's not going away, because we really want the world to come together. Until you start doing that, it's going to keep mutating. It's going to keep going, but it's for you. You see, this is happening for you because you wanted an opportunity to be involved in the world where you could own who you are, allow that to come through, love yourself. That's what you're meant to do. You came here to love yourself. Each of you. And you know you haven't done that all the time, and that's okay. That's part of evolving. And your judgment, any judgment that you have about yourself is your lack of understanding. That's all. And you come to understand, you will come to figure out later that your judgment was pointless. It didn't mean anything, except it caused you to begin to ask different questions, which what you're always doing. As you move through your life, you're always asking these questions. Now, we gave Roger the last time, we told you this, and we're going to continue this story because, again, you don't believe that you have these things that are just happening because you orchestrated them before you ever got here. So when we told you the last time, we revealed to Roger during the reading why he had this folder from August of 2005 that he had no memory of why he had it. He had no memory of creating it. And then we brought it all together for him. We said it was when Katrina happened. And you're doing the same thing now. But during Katrina, he became so impassioned because he saw people who were not being taken care of, people who were being ignored. This wealth, income disparity that was going on, that's still happening, but it's getting, you've gone so far, but it will change. We'll say that there is going to be a shift in that. So hold on to that one. There will be a shift because it is occurring now. But we wanted him to see that there was a moment where he awakened to something that was so important to him, but he didn't fully act on it. But also because he wasn't quite ready yet. You may not have been either, but you are now. You are now. And you know that. And we need you to know that. Because your light is so essential to the healing of your planet. And it's so difficult for each of you to hold on to the importance of who you are. And we're going to keep talking about it until you get it, because you are. And so he had no memory of that. The next day, after we gave you this message, that next day, he received an email from someone speaking about Katrina, the same thing we had just spoken of. And they were questioning, why am I seeing this today? I wrote about this in my book. It's a chapter in my book. Why am I seeing this today? This seems crazy. Do you understand this? And we said, and we wrote back, yes, we can understand it completely. You're seeing the perfect orchestration. See, because this person that we are mentioning came to Roger in April. And Roger gave him, from us, information about what might be happening. And it showed up. And they couldn't understand this connection, except when you get these glimpses, they are meant to awaken you to the right path that you are on, to give you confidence, because most times you lack it. You need it. And so everything that we're doing is to show this kind of confidence for you, help you build it. So this person was questioning, how could this happen? Roger knew very clearly, oh, wait a minute. We're saying this because you each have the ability to do what he does, and you're doing it more now. But we told him, this is not for you. Give this person to your friend, because they're supposed to come together and they're going to collaborate and create something that's going to really help everyone. That's what's supposed to happen. He could see that's why these experiences came together. And the experiences were years apart. You see, you think in linear, as we said before, you think in these linear times, you from this age, this year to that year, and all of that. We've used the years in showing you things, so maybe you could see the organization of your lives. So you could see that there is a divine plan, as many of you have said. It's there. It's a divine plan for you and one for your world. But see, the world depends on you operating and living yours. You are that important. And this is the time you are supposed to bring that out. You meant to bring that out. We're saying that because you did do this. You have this infinite wisdom that you won't remember. But before you came in, you had this infinite wisdom that if you placed yourself in all these places, you could evolve. And you're doing it. Each of you are doing it in your own way. That's what is occurring right now. And we told Roger that we wanted him to, as we mentioned to you last time, do these through September, but we only said through September because then we'll assess where you are and we'll decide what to do from there. See, because right now you have the ability to change things in such a dramatic way that your world could look completely different by the end of September, and maybe we won't do those, who knows? We'll see what happens. But you do have the ability, the power right now in this moment to start to affect change in your world that would be magnificent. But that changes in your life. Now, and we know that it's difficult for you to think about that in the grander scheme and the big thing and all of that. However, you do know what is right in front of you, what you've been attempting to do, own, believe in, do. That is where you are right now. And that is what you wanted to do. And that's why you're here now. And it's actually why you're here today, listening to this. And those who will hear this later, you will know it. You will hear it. You will hear exactly what you are meant to, that will awaken you to another part of who you are. We're saying another part because you're never done. You are never done. That's the other thing, because some of you get really impatient. The reason that we keep talking about Roger's age, like 70, we keep throwing it out there, because some of you think that, if you get older, maybe you're done. It's never. You're never done. It's just you awaken to parts of you at different times in your chronological age, because it's your path. It's your way of, it's you. That's what's going on. It's your individual path. We gave you a message about that. There's many of them, but you need to understand that you have chosen an individual path that's unique and wonderful and filled with magnificent, but it coincides with what's going on in your world. You wouldn't have come here at this time unless it did. That's what it is. You're never an accident. Even the time that you're here, your birth, none of that was accidental. You just don't understand it all. And we keep revealing it to Roger as he moves along, which is why we said today, we give you a bit at a time because you don't understand, you don't accept. Because you didn't plan it that way. You planned your life to gain wisdom and knowledge, because then you hold on to it. As you move through, you become more and more powerful, which is why we have that message on the screen for you each to see. You hold, no one holds more power than you. If you thought, that someone else had the ability to think, and you don't, and you're the only one who doesn't have the ability to think. No, you each do. You hold the power, but the only thing that happens is sometimes you don't hold on to it. You don't keep it there. Now, again, we would love for you to search the messages for focused attention, because we've given you several of them. And the more of you would start to use that, you would change your world. We said crazy stuff before to you, didn't we? About your weather. We said if you use focused attention, you could have actually changed the conditions in your planet. Well, not many people will get together and actually do that, but there are movements happening now where you're coming to understand that. The thing that we want you to understand, what the power thing is, it is energy. And when you understand that, you know that no one has more than you. People just become aware of it, and then they use it. And maybe you don't, but they become aware of it, which is why we threw in the Hitler reference. It's no different. You use power in any way that you choose to do it. It's through your energy, your thoughts, and your intention. Now, we want to explain that again, because you each come in at different times and in different ways. You need that, because nothing changes unless you do. So we don't want you to bemoan what is happening and looking at everyone, as we said before, and making them the villain and victim, the bad guys and all of that. Then you're staying in the same place where you've always been. That's what's gone on in your world for centuries and centuries and centuries. And this is how you lose civilizations and you create new ones. That's happened. That's happened. And it could happen. You could do it again. This is why we said your world that you want to see is not guaranteed. However, we do know, and it's happening now, there's a big shift going. And so more and more people are coming together and saying, okay, we're going to make a difference now. And that's why we want you to do the same in your way. If we really want each of you to understand how important you are and what you are doing, you may sometimes think it's not significant, and it is. Anything that you do that causes a part of you, an ability, a talent, or something to come out, it changes the world. You bring something new to the world. That's evolution. And when you do that, you know what you have. You don't try to get anything from anyone else. And then the tension and the wars and all of that start to heal. The reason we brought up Afghanistan, by the way, the last time, is that you see what's happening there now. And many of you have judgments about that. However, it could change if more of you began to see that differences can be healed. Differences can come together. Your thoughts and what you do here will permeate the entire world. It's not just one place, but they just become a great example for you to see, because what's happening now is that there are divisions happening, and the civil wars that they've had will start to emerge again unless somebody decides, wait a minute, maybe we need to come together. And you are the people who decided that you were going to do that. But we will say again, and we're going to keep saying it, the way that you do that, not changing, you can't change anyone else. That's not what you came to do. You came to heal you. You came to heal you, put every part of you back together. And those are those parts that you kept forgetting about. As we said, let's go back to the other message that we gave you, the secret. See, because we said that what you did, you figured out before you came here. We were speaking to someone yesterday, and they said, we have a hard time believing that I chose this. I have a hard time believing that I chose that. And we said, well, then that's why your life would be a little more difficult. See, because then you think everybody else is choosing everything for you. Many of you think that. And that's never true. You did this. So when you understand that you chose that, if you choose to believe the fairy tales we told you before, choose to believe the fairy tale, it makes things easier. You see, because we gave Roger the vivid picture of you. Listen, you came through and you had all these things that you've carried through from other lifetimes, your ancestors. We've even shown you some of that. We've taken you back to your family and your history. And you can see all of that. You know that it was there. And you said, okay, let me try to clean that up. Let me try to heal a bit of that. Let me try to make something a little bit different. That's what you each are doing. Wherever you are, that is exactly what you're doing. And you just haven't believed it enough until now, which is why we're saying all of this. You will do the same thing. Roger's listened to many other people before he even got to the place where he could accept what we were doing, what we were bringing through. You each have your own Wilhelms. We've said that before too. You could do the same thing, but he could not do that because it was a part of his journey that he held himself back, and it was just, torturous for him, as you have done in certain ways. But now it's going to be different, because we're going to keep talking about it, because our main objective, our only objective, as we have said many times, is to cause each of you, help each of you believe in who you are and how important you are and why you're here now. And to stop thinking that you're less than another. You are not. And the more of you come to know that, and the love that you came to bring, you will change this world. You absolutely will. You've had the idea, which we said a bit in the message this morning, where you have this idea that says, "Oh, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to make a big difference. I'm going to save the world." That's one of them. Some of you have had, and then you will turn around and think, "Oh, that's not me. I couldn't possibly do it. I couldn't have that much power." And we're saying, yes, you do. Yes, you do. And when you understand that, you'll start to come together, which is what we're doing, and more of you will make a difference in this world. That's where we are in this world right now. And so we're saying this because we knew how things might look in the exterior. And so we need you to go to the interior, which is you. And the more of you who stay there, you will affect something very different, because there will be chaos. We told you before that there will be chaos, and you're seeing it. And to give you a little more help with that, please search our messages for chaos. We gave you several of them, because you do that in your life and you do that in the world. You go through chaos in your families and your individuals and your relationships. You do all of that, and then you will do something to resolve it. And when you resolve it, you evolve, because you have to do something that would cause you to come together, and others as well. So you always evolve. And then that collective thing is what is occurring in your world right now. That's what you're seeing. And some of you have been really frightened and afraid and unsure. And many of you, we'll talk about this because we've had this as well. The reason we also brought up 2009 is that it was a point where Roger felt that he was meant to change and he couldn't let go. He was hanging on to his old life, and he was afraid, which many of you might be doing right now. But there's so many of you who are feeling this urge now. Can't explain it. Don't even know what it is. Sometimes it makes you really nervous. But you're feeling this urge to do something that's going to be somewhat different. But then you're still hanging on to the old stuff. You are doing that, and your world is doing that. That's why the conflict is happening now. But you are the ones who came to make a difference. You wouldn't be here unless that was the case. And again, we want you to understand, you're not any better than anyone else, because you've been everything else. You've done things in your life, in your other lives, where it wasn't seen to be in the light, because you wanted to experience that. You wanted to know the difference. But now you know why you're here this time. And again, this is the most important lifetime that you have experienced. This is the most important one, because you have the ability. You chose this time because you knew that if you were here, you could affect the world in a way that was going to create the world that you wanted to see. If you do it. That's what it is. That's where you are. If you do it. If you decide that I'm going to step into myself, I'm going to stop judging myself today. I'm going to decide that I'm going to love myself. I'm going to decide that anything that I did in the past that I thought were failures were not that. It was just me learning. Any mistakes I made, it was just because I didn't know better, but now I do. And so now I can do something different. You have to take away your judgments. You didn't do anything wrong. Again, we would like for you to search for that. We've given you several messages about that. Because you torture yourself so much because you're not understanding the process of evolving. So you come in, we'll go back. You come into the world, you decide where you're going to go. But then when the minute you're born, after a certain point, you remember why you came here when you're a kid. That's why we said the kids remember, they see it. But then as you start training, then you forget. That was purposeful. You needed to forget because now you're going to learn new stuff. See, now you're going to learn new stuff and it's going to cause you to become bigger. It's going to cause you to become more. It's going to cause you to expand if you don't stop yourself. You are the only ones holding yourselves back. But we're helping. See, and you will do the same. We know that. We know that you will do the same. It's not possible. You're going to hear this. You're going to come away with some new awareness of who you are, and you're going to spread that to the world. You're going to give it to someone else. You're going to make a change that is going to be indistinguishable. You're going to do something that's going to cause you to be better, and as well as the rest of the world, each of you. There is no separation. We're going to talk about this because you see, you make up things that cause you to be limited in certain ways. Each of you, everyone does. And it's your biases that you come in with. We gave you a message the other day that we said when we talked about the 2009, we said, you were born again. Someone sent us a message and said this was heresy. This was horrible things. You're taking the name of God and using it in vain. We responded, well, first of all, we never used the word God. That was you. That was your bias. You can't even see things because you come in with your biases. You come in with your limitations. You each do that. That's why you came to the world, to do that. But we bring that up because that's the kind of reaction to things that you each will see now. Because when people feel disempowered, they will try to get it from others and they will do whatever, that subjugation again. Just why we brought up the abortion thing, just only to think of why you're trying to, what are you trying to control? Is the result that you want people to know that they have free will, that they have free choice? Is that what you want them to know? If that is your intention, then go for it. If that is your intention, because your morals are yours, not anyone else's. So you look at what you're doing. What are you doing? What is your reason for doing the things that you're doing? When each of you starts to understand that, we're not telling you what choices you're going to make. We never tell you that. You will make your choices. We're just asking the questions that we want you to ask of yourself. What's your intention? Where you're trying to go? Is your intention to help people become free and inclusive and feel all that, or the opposite? Because see, when you go back and you read our message about love, money, power, and control, you will see that you're still playing that out in your world. Each of you and the world collectively, you're still playing that out. But over the centuries, it gets better. And this is why certain structures have broken down, which is why we kept telling you from almost 2 years now that you are going through a restructuring. Your governments will be different. The wealth will change. And more equality will start to show up. That's what happens. It's happened all the time. It's happened forever. Again, we will refer to, and again, we want Roger to really publish those messages, those conversations, because we believe that if you hear those and see what we told you then, and then what's occurring now, that you might form a little more self-belief. Because all we're trying to do is get you to feel how powerful you are and to know that you're here for a reason. It's not accidental. Nothing in your life has been accidental. You just don't always understand it as it's occurring. Many times you will see, if you've read our messages for a while, we will have Roger write, because we need him to share all of this because you each do it. We will have him write how long it took him to write something, because he's not willing to see it. He's not willing to acknowledge it and own it. And you do that too. You receive clear communication about why you're here and what you're meant to do, but then you kind of deny it. Now, we want to say something else. Again, we're going back to the ancestral thing. You each are carrying threads, you're carrying strings, which we keep talking about, cutting the strings from the past, but you are carrying those strings that you're still holding on to, but you did that for a reason. You did that because you wanted to break them. You wanted to do something different. You wanted to evolve. You wanted the world to look different. But you couldn't do it unless those things came with you. And that's what's there. And the reason that the person yesterday had trouble with thinking that they chose this is because they don't feel their self-determination. That's all. When you start to experience and feel and know your self-determination, you will use it. And then you will be grateful that you chose what you chose. You will see, oh, I did this because I'm going to break through and I'm going to become this empowered, powerful being that I've always wanted to be. Each of you are doing that, and you're doing it in different ways. And there's no difference. We want you to understand that there's no difference. The thing that you are doing is just as important as any world leader. It's just then, but there's no difference. You each have the power of your thoughts. You each hold that. But now what's happening is there's a collective calling, if you will, for all of you to come together and harness this energy, because that's what will affect the world, and that's what will create the world that you want to see, as we said. But it's not guaranteed unless each of you decide to own who you are. It's not about anybody else, it's about you. The more people, the more of you that we can coax, we'll say, into feeling your power and the brilliance of who you are, your world starts to look so different. It will. And regardless of what you will see, which is why we said we will come for the next several weeks, but regardless of what you will see, it's going somewhere else. Please do not become alarmed, because you're going to see all sorts of things. But that's necessary for you to move to the other side of what you came to do, each of you. And we just want you to remember that. So what's going to happen is this. What you came to do was to look at everything that was going on, feel it deeply, because it would awaken who you are, decide to own what you discover, and then you're going to feel empowered. That's all. That's what will happen. And as you do that, things start to change. Because the more of you who do it, we'll say again, the more of you who do it, the world starts to look different. Now, again, we're going to bring back something else. And then we know that you are seeing this now. When we talked about what was going on with in different areas with COVID and this, that, and the other, it was not about just that, the virus and this, that, and the other. It's about the choices that you make that may not be for the good of you or others. That's what it is. It's about the choices. The choice that you make for yourself about taking care of yourself is going to affect all others, or the fact that you may make a choice that is lack of concern for any others, which is what a lot of people have done, which is why the world looks the way it does. When you make choices that is just about for you, you are eliminating a whole part of you. We want you to really get that, see, because you are connected to everyone. How could you do that? How could you make a choice to put someone away, to take someone else down without doing the same to yourself? It's not possible. And more of you coming to see that. And every civilization that you've had, you see that more. You come to know it more. And we say that you do that every time because, again, you've been through all of it because you're eternal beings. Now, you were not in physical form all the time. You didn't choose to come into the earth and have a physical life, but you've always been here. And you choose at certain times to come in. That's what you've done now. And we know to some of you that may not make sense. It didn't make sense to Roger either, which is so shocking. We've said that to you before. And when you go back and you find the message, we can give you every single message because he can have this recall. And he does it all the time. Many of you have had this experience. He'll be sitting with you in a session and you will say something and he'll say, oh yeah, Wilhelm said that already, right? You've seen it. And he'll pull up something and you'll read it and go, oh wow, how could you have known? Happens all the time because you've had these lives that have been designed to cause you to evolve. That's all. You just didn't understand. And so he knows now that his only thing to do, which why he had all of that life, was to be here in this moment so he could help each of you start to, and he said it even yesterday, he says, I'm not going to be here, but I know that if I have enough people who start to believe in themselves, I know that my legacy will be that the world will start to change. And the people who come later will have a much better world than what they ever expected. And that's what you're doing. That's why you're here. We're saying that again because we know sometimes you don't believe that or you can't accept it, but you would not be here unless that were the case. And those who are not in this room, who are not here right now, when you hear this, it's still for you. Because again, you're never going to even click on the video unless you were being guided. This is what we talked about the other day. We said your curiosity. You know how each of you have found things. I'm really curious about that. Let me go there. You are supposed to. Your curiosity was your spiritual guidance. That's it. It's your spiritual guidance. Sometimes you have trouble with some words to understand them, but that's what it is. You've always done that. You're asking questions, you're being led to certain places, and you don't understand it all the time, but you're always being protected, you're always being guided, and you're always being loved. You are the only ones who don't believe that sometimes. Because your guides, your spirit, your God, whoever you think of, however you think of that, is always there holding you to guide you and push you in different ways. Now, we will say we have pushed Roger. He's hated it, and he fights us so much. And that's why we can talk about it, because each of you have done that to different degrees. And he knows that he has to talk about it because it's going to help him. This time, that is the path that he chose. We're saying this time, because you each chose different paths. And this time he knows that way he's going to complete this part of his mission. We're saying that because, again, you're all eternal. But the way that he will complete this part of his mission is to get out of his way, allow what we're giving him to come through to aid all of you so that you do the same thing, because you will. You are going to help so many people. He's told you that. Some of you, he's told you. He looks at you and says, I can see what you're going to do. And some of you think, why does he know that? Why is he saying that? Because he's seen it in himself. That's why. That he didn't believe like you didn't believe. None of you are meaningless. None of you are insignificant. And you're going to come to know that. You're going to see that because it's going to come up. You're going to be called up to stand up to you, to be what you came to be. And that's going to affect the change in the world. It is. And again, what we want you to understand, in the next couple of weeks, there will be few things that happen that will be a little distressing, but please just know that every Sunday we're going to talk about them. We're going to keep going through this because you will move through them when you stay centered in who you are. When you use your focused attention, meaning take deliberately thinking about what you want to see, manifesting that, holding that in your mindfulness, whatever it is, that's what's going to happen. And coming together in your groups. Many of you have seen that you've all of a sudden fallen into different groups, and your internet has given you that wonderful ability. But surprisingly, you're falling in together with all these groups of like-minded people who are saying things that are giving you more courage, and you're coming together. That's not accidental. You were directed to do that as well, to cause you to believe in your importance and why you're here and what you're going to achieve in the world that you're going to create. Each of you, you're doing that right now. And make it the one that you want. The one that you want is the one that you want to experience within yourself. The stuff that you've been holding back, the stuff that you've been denying, the stuff that you didn't believe. That's what you wanted. So now as you start to have that come through, as you start to believe that, as you start to let it come up, that goes out into the world. And it's going to be the thing that you came to do. And the other thing that we said, and we're going to leave you with this because we want you to remember, we'll give you more in our next outing, because there will be things this week that we will need to talk about next Sunday is what's happening. However, we want to please remember this. If you use judgment and hatred, you're done. We told you in the message earlier in the week, and you will figure this out. Judgment and hatred are the same thing. And you're all one. So who are you judging and hating? We would like to open for questions now. You have the ability to unmute and ask your questions, or if there's any in the chat, please give them to us. Anything that's perplexing to you, anything that's troubling to you. Anything at all.
Today's message is very, very positive. I think this is all about empowerment and how we move beyond fear.
Yes.
Very, very, very nice.
Yes. Thank you. And that's why you're here. We so want you to appreciate that, because you came to do that. You came to do that this time. We keep saying that because you may have made other choices, but this time, this is why you're here. And so the more that you honor that, the life that you wanted to experience is going to start to manifest in every single way. Your abundance, your happiness, your joy, your love, it's all going to manifest as you come to understand that. But we keep reminding you that you in the next time, as you're going through this transition, you will see something different. So you're meant to remember who you are. Do we have more?
Oh, I was going to say the message of how powerful we are and like-minded people reaching out to each other is also so empowering and so reassuring when the rest of the world feels like it's descending into chaos.
Perfect. This is why we said that. This is why we said we wanted you to notice, because it gives you comfort. See, when you start to notice that you're magically ending up in places where you're meeting those people who are encouraging you, who are feeling the same, you're creating this synergy. And it gives you more courage. It gives you more confidence. That's why it's there. It's the glimpses that we've told you. You've each had these breadcrumbs sprinkled on your life path, so that as you move through your life, you start to remember. That's what they are, these things. And so the occurrences where you're seeing, oh, wow, meeting this person, I'm ending up in this place. It's to remind you of your importance and why you were here. And we will say it again, because it's going to continue to happen. Now, we told you last time, you'll start to see more of this. People that you're meeting and the people, these incidents, and you're going to see basically more, you're going to see more of your past, actually. That's what's going to happen. You're going to start to recognize things from your past that now will begin to make sense. And they will make sense because that gives you more encouragement to become you. So you'll start to see more of those things showing up in your lives.
The message on power. The power we're talking, the energy we're talking is also literal, right? It's literal. It's not just, it's literal power in our hands.
Yes, it is literal power, because that is all there is. It's energy. There's nothing more than energy. Everything is energy. What we're saying about the power that you didn't understand is that you have the ability to move energy. You see, the energy is the power, and you possess the power because you can move the energy. You can direct the energy. Your thoughts direct the energy, and that is the power. But see, most people think that somebody else holds it, and you each do. It's equal. No one has more than you. It's just that more people decide that they're going to use it. Some people decide that they're going to use it, but you're doing that now. Each of you are coming into that place where you're deciding, you're going to remember, and you're going to start to use it. Do we have more? Are we complete? We just,
Hello.
yes.
I wasn't sure what to do here. Anyway, this is the first one of these that I've ever gone to,
Mhm.
and it was recommended to me by my friend Clarity. And I felt that, how do I want to put this? So many things resonated with me, and so many things brought to my attention that, you know, sometimes you can't fix things, and I'm a fixer. So sometimes you just can't fix things, and you need to accept that.
Yes.
And anyway, I almost cried because the way you said it, it was just so, just really hit me really hard, but it was really a good thing.
Thank you. And thank you for being here, because you just validated us. Because this is our intention. We wanted you to see that those things that have come up with you and your desire to want to fix things shows you who you are. It does. It just because you want things to be better. And that's so wonderful. And so we're glad you're here and you're seeing that. But then you also know the limitations of that you can't fix them, and but you can't fix you. And so as you own that benevolent side of you that wanted to change things, that wanted to fix stuff, that's what's going to cause your life to really expand. And we're so happy that you were here, and that was not accidental.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll be here next week.
Great. Thank you. We want to say that we thank you all for being here. We love you so much. This is just the most wonderful day that you could have possibly given us, because our only desire is for each of you to understand how important you are and to accept that you are so important at this exact time in your world, on your planet. Thank you for being here. We're complete. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Hello. That was fun. I'm going to have to listen and contemplate all of this, and I got to go back and listen to the other stuff too, because I don't know. There's going to be something that will come through. But wow, this was good. Anything else you guys want to say before we go? It's just thank you so much.
I just wanted to say how wonderful it is that you're accepting to allow these messages through, because it's allowing so many people to be touched and so many lives to be changed.
Thank you. It was a challenge in the beginning, I must say, and now it's but I know that this is where I just kept said no. This is it. This is what we're doing. So okay.
You know, I'm really lucky. I'm in a place where I will have the ability to touch so many people, because I've been somehow brought into a group of people who are reaching out to others. So I have access to thousands of people through that
Great.
group.
Okay.
And I just, you know, the message, our group's message is stop the fear and empower people.
Yes.
And if I honor what I understand about what it takes to help people be healthy, I can bring a different aspect to what that group is bringing.
Yes. And that's what it is. I think the thing, what I keep getting is that we're each doing that in our own way, you know, and wherever we are, that's what we're meant to do. So that was perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Today.
Right. All right, you guys, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for today. And I'm going to send the send the replay to everyone as well. So you'll have that. And hopefully I'll see you guys next week.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.